I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. The prospects of Donald Trump's lawyer John Eastman being indicted both by Special Counsel Jack Smith and by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis seems like a very real possibility. We are learning now from a new report on MSNBC that John Eastman's lawyer, so Trump's lawyer, John Eastman's lawyers, has sent a letter and has been preparing letters to both Special Counsel Jack Smith as well as to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, informing both the state prosecutor Fani Willis and the federal prosecutor Special Counsel Jack Smith about the reasons why they think that John Eastman should not be charged. And this is being described by many legal experts as a Hail Mary. Hail Marys have the opportunity of resulting in a touchdown. I don't believe this is a Hail Mary at all. I just think this is a completely frivolous attempt. Special Counsel Jack Smith will make his charging decisions irrespective of this letter. So will Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. And you'll recall that a federal judge, Judge David Carter in the Central District of California Southern Division, has already made a finding in connection with a civil proceeding that John Eastman and Donald Trump were criminal co-conspirators and that there wasn't a genuine attorney-client relationship between the two, but instead there was a coup in search of a legal theory taking place. And remember that action? That was where the January 6th committee subpoenaed the documents and records of Donald Trump's lawyer, John Eastman. John Eastman, at that time, was a law professor in Southern California at a law school called Chapman University. I can't even imagine taking any of his classes at that law school. He's no longer a law professor there. So because he's a professor in Southern California, and that's where he lived, he filed an action for injunctive relief before a federal judge in California. The case was assigned to federal judge David Carter, Central District Southern Division, to try to block the January 6th committee's subpoena on the grounds of attorney-client privilege. One of the exceptions to attorney-client privilege is the crime-fraud exception. Was an attorney being used to commit crimes, and were text messages, emails, and other communications being sought in discovery, in this case a civil proceeding, in furtherance of those crimes? If that two-part test is met, the crime-fraud exception applies, and you can't assert attorney-client privilege to shield discovery from attorney-client relationships. And so Judge David Carter looked at the communications and found there were maybe some legitimate attorney-client communications, but there were certain key categories of documents which Judge David Carter found were constituted like obstruction of an official proceeding and a conspiracy against the United States government. Essentially, the exact words used by federal Judge David Carter, a coup in search of a legal theory. Just think about how powerful of a ruling that is. And then we saw things like the fact that John Eastman knew that his legal arguments were frivolous. We saw that John Eastman knew that Donald Trump was signing false and perjurious declarations, for example, in the Georgia case, stating that there were dead voters and providing other false data that was just not accurate at all. When the Trump team knew the data that they were doing was false, Trump signed under penalty of perjury, other documents and communications like that. But Eastman was one of the architect of the January 6th insurrection. Eastman was one of the architect of the fake electors. Eastman had his hands in all of the various plots and schemes. And Eastman's like, I'm just a lawyer. I'm giving legal advice. Not so. What do we say that MAGA stands for? Make attorneys get attorneys. I want to show you the report now from MSNBC here discussing this news about Eastman sending these letters to Special Counsel Jack Smith and Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Play this tape.
First, let's start with Mr. Eastman. We spoke with one of his lawyers this afternoon, and he says they're working on drafting a letter to prosecutors both in Washington and in Georgia, both the federal
and Georgia.
And Georgia.
Okay.
and that they hope to have this memo drafted by next week to say to prosecutors, look, he did nothing wrong. He was just a lawyer, floating theories, floating ideas on how President Trump could win the argument and stay in office. There was nothing criminal here. We're not going to cop to any plea, and we hope to get this letter in front of prosecutors before they make any charging decision regarding Mr. Eastman.
Now, I know it was described as a Hail Mary. Based on your reporting, why did they think it was necessary at this point in time and at this moment?
Well, there's some legal experts who would call it a Hail Mary. The defense lawyers believe that he did nothing wrong, so they feel they want to head this off. They've not received any target letter. They've received no official communication that he is going to be charged, but clearly based on all the reporting and all the action and activity, they clearly are concerned, so they're trying to head off a possible indictment. On that note, his lawyer and other defense lawyers representing others in this matter are of the view that, at least as far as the special counsel is concerned, special counsel sent a target letter to Donald Trump, but so far to no one else. So there is thinking, and again, it's just thinking, speculation, if you will, by these defense lawyers, that perhaps the special counsel will move forward with an indictment against Trump and Trump only, and that if there's a conspiracy charge in there, it'll just not name anyone else. Why? Because there is a time frame. You know, they've got 5 years to charge anyone with a conspiracy or any of these obstruction charges. But there's a timeline for the election that's coming, along with some of the other trials regarding Donald Trump. So perhaps the special counsel needs to move quickly on the Donald Trump front, if and when he moves forward.
That's pretty, I mean, let's just pause there for a moment, because that's some pretty significant reporting. I know it's based, it sounds like, on the defense attorneys of other potential targets. But what you're telling me now is that it seems like it might only be Trump. Based on their speculation, that could be.
Right. It's just speculation, because this is not coming from inside the special counsel, and only the special counsel knows. And so far, we're getting no comment from them as to if and or when. You know, there's speculation that tomorrow's Hunter Biden day, so maybe tomorrow's not the day. Will Thursday be the day? Because that's the next day the grand jury meets. But at least as far as the talk among defense lawyers, so this is just thinking among lawyers who need to represent some of these actors and players. There is some thought that perhaps the special counsel goes with Trump first and then at a later date moves with some others.
Folks, from all of the data I'm seeing, I think special counsel Jack Smith is going to be indicting Donald Trump very soon. Very soon. Feels like that could happen at any moment now. I think we're talking about weeks at most, as opposed to months. I think at any moment it could happen. Of course, we'll bring it to you live here on the MeidasTouch network when it does. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe. And check out store.MeidasTouch.com. We got great MeidasTouch gear there. Have a great day. Hit subscribe.
Love this video? Then you'll love the MeidasTouch podcast. Listen as my brothers and I break down the latest news and chat with top political leaders on the fastest growing pro-democracy podcast in the world. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Add the MeidasTouch podcast right now wherever you listen to your podcasts.